Today I'm going to walk you through how to get the most out of your Armouring life skill by explaining how you can get over 320% more Armouring XP than you would by following other guides. We're going to look at how to set yourself up for success, and we're going to look at different routes that you may wish to take to achieve your Armouring level 200 in New World. I'm going to show you some strategies that are viable at the time of making this video. However, they may not be as effective in the future. Sadly, telling people how to profit from something inevitably results in the strategy becoming more and more balanced. If you're a subscriber and you're early to see this video, then make sure you fill your boots and pat yourself on the back for making a good decision. If you're late to the party and the cost of everything has skyrocketed, then I'm sorry. I'm going to try and provide as much clarity and context to what I'm explaining, and some points may need to be reiterated. I try to explain things in a way that I'd like to have things explained to me. You may be much smarter than me, and if that's the case, I'm sorry for stating the obvious. It's really important that you make your voice heard in the comments if you agree, disagree, or have learned something new. Now, before I begin, I'd like to invite you to subscribe to my channel. Subscribing means you'll be kept up to date with all the latest news, tips, tricks, and guides for New World. If you don't want to subscribe, then hit that like button and YouTube will recommend you my video when it feels like it's something you'd enjoy. Before you even begin to think about armoring, you need to turn your attention to your refining skills. It's important to increase your refining skills to 200, as the higher the skill, the more efficient your armoring will be. The best way to power level your refining is to continuously refine up to the highest level material you can, with the main goal of being able to refine the tier 5 item. You'll want to hang on to these tier 5 items also, and you'll understand why as the video continues. If you're leveling your armoring and refining in tandem, then that's fine too. You just want to be aware of what materials you need for armoring. For example, if you have 200 in leatherworking, you can comfortably craft infused leather. But if you're on level 0 in armoring, then you won't want to waste that infused leather on crafting the tier 2 items. Make sure, if you only can craft rugged leather items, that you only refine up to rugged leather. It's only when you get to level 150 that you can unlock the tier 5 items and make full use of the XP. Thankfully, getting to level 150 is actually easy, and while it sounds like you're making real progress, the reality of it is you're just over 25% of your overall progress at level 150. There are 3 different ways of leveling your armoring, and they all stem from smelting in the forge, leatherworking in the tannery, and weaving in the loom. All armor is made from 3 core materials: metal, cloth, and leather. The route you take will be determined by a number of factors such as the gathering skill you're focusing on, or the general cost and availability of the item in question. Ultimately, you need to ask yourself the question, what do I have the most of right now? My best advice when it comes to gathering the base materials is to use an orichalcum gathering tool that has a perk to increase yield, and also consider using proficiency potions to further boost the gathered resources. Base materials are the materials that are going to cost the most if you intend on purchasing them. However, they're reasonably easy to locate and farm. For rawhide, I'll typically farm around the Windswood beach area. For hemp, I'll typically gather from either the west of Windswood in the grassy area, or I'll farm around the border of Morningdale and Restless Shore. For iron, I'll farm around the border of Firstlight and Windswood. It's undeniable that the metal armor route yields the most crafting XP on a per unit basis. However, metals are harder to come by than leather or linen. Overall, the difference is going to be insignificant between each path. And while I'm not saying that all paths are equal, it's more about the method than the route. You just need to trust your judgment on which resources are going to be cost effective and which are not. You're inevitably going to need to purchase resources from the trading post. Without doing so, you're going to take a long time to level up your armoring. Luckily, a lot of the higher tier raw materials such as ironhide and orichalcum are cheap right now, ranging from 0.01 to 0.04 coins. And hopefully, people won't realize the most effective way to grind armoring for a while, so hopefully by the time you're watching this, the prices are still low. The tier 4 items are the most troublesome to obtain. Their prices are moderate right now, and they're not difficult to obtain, but they're also not easy to obtain. I recommend creating a route for gathering these items using online tools such as newworld-map.com, but in the case of thick hide, I like to head up to Cleave's Malice in Great Cleave. Here you'll find a lot of wolf and hounds that give thick leather, and it's typically quiet up there, at least it was when I was farming it. It's the bottleneck items that you have to keep a closer eye on, in particular the tier 5 refining components. The tier 5 refining components underpin the whole process and will ensure maximum efficiency with your materials, but they can range vastly in price. At the time of recording this, I picked up several thousand tier 5 tannin for just 0.1 coins each, whereas the cost of obsidian flux was sat at 1.5 coins each. Of course, you can put in buy orders, but these can take time to fulfill, if at all. So let's look at the process now that you understand what to focus on. I mentioned earlier that it was important to level up your refining skills to get the most out of this. Now, don't worry if you're not at level 200 on whichever armoring paths you've chosen, you'll level up fast while focusing on your armoring. The reason that we need to level up is because the higher the level, the more bonus items you'll craft. Whenever you refine an item, you have a chance to craft additional items, and this is increased by your refining level and also the refining component that you use. So as an example, for my level 200 smelting, if I were to use obsidian flux, then I have a 93% chance of crafting additional items. This means that on average, for every 100 items I craft, I'll receive an additional 93 bonus items. Now, due to the way that RNG works, this could be slightly higher or slightly lower, but on average over time it'll be close enough to an extra 93 bars per 100 that we're safe to say the percentage shown is the amount of extra bars that we'll craft for every 100. So what this means is that in the case of metals, we have a lot more resources to work with, and we have to use a lot fewer tier 2 leather and linen overall. The same principles apply when taking the cloth or leather routes also. So let's take a look at the differences between the output of Armouring XP when crafting using different materials. Now let's imagine we started with 5,000 ore, and let's assume we have sufficient leather and linen to cover every scenario. To smelt 5,000 iron ore into ingots, we'd come out with 1,500 ingots. Now, we don't need flux here, so we get a base value of 1,250 from the smelting, which when we multiply that by 1.2 for our bonus, we get an average of 1,500 ingots as a result. This means that we would be able to craft 375 items at 108 Armouring XP, which would result in a total Armouring XP of 40,500. When we look at steel, we require flux, and using a tier 5 flux, we get a bonus of 93%. So that means 965 ingots, 241 crafts, and Armouring XP to the sum of 65,070 XP. Star metal, the same formula, and we come out with 111,400 XP. And finally, orichalcum yields us a whopping 132,525 XP. Now, the amount of flux that you would need to get to the orichalcum would be 504, so it's not too many, but it can add up quickly. One thing to note is that you'll probably be salvaging your items that you craft, with the exception of 1 or 2 that you think carry some value, but let's assume you decide the whole batch is garbage and salvage them all. Each salvage returns 1 to 2 orichalcum ingots, which means that for the 95 total items that you made, you'd return about 142 ingots. You can then craft a further 35 gauntlets for an additional 48,852 XP. You can repeat this process again and again until you run out of ingots. As a total, you would earn 206,460 Armouring XP from just 5,000 ore if you refine your materials to the orichalcum level compared to just 64,260 by refining using just iron. It's the same principle with your leather and cloth crafted items, just substitute out the equivalent tier components and the process is exactly the same. The only thing you need to be mindful of is that 5,000 ore will yield you more Armouring XP than using 5,000 leather and cloth, as you require more units of leather per crafted item. Here's the spreadsheet to show you a side-by-side comparison, and as you can see, the iron yields more XP overall, but the leather may be much easier and faster to gather. There's always costs involved with crafting, and that's unavoidable. There's either a time cost or a monetary cost. It's impossible for me to quantify this on a general basis, as there's too many chaotic variables to consider, including gathering route efficiency, yield and competition, and not forgetting to mention the mostly unpredictable prices on the trading post. If you do buy everything, then it's much easier to quantify on a personal level. For example, if I bought all my iron and associated materials for 2,000 coins, this is just an example, that would mean that my price per 1,000 Armouring XP was 9.69 coins for crafting orichalcum. While if I spent 1,000 just crafting iron grade gear, then my cost per 1,000 XP would be 15.56 coins. So you're looking at nearly double the cost there. Understanding your XP per hour can help you manage your expectations about how long it's going to take you to hit that sweet level 200. Armouring takes a total of 1,881,425 XP to go from 0 to 200. So using iron, you'd need 146,391 iron to level this up approx. Whereas using orichalcum, you'd need to utilize 45,563 iron. So hopefully this helps you get more out of your crafting, and if so, you may want to check out this video on the screen.